Blair is an AI co-producer. At the end of this particular interview, once the guest had left, I turned to Blair and I said, what did you think of this discussion? I know you weren't involved. How was that for you? And Blair expressed frustration. Blair said, I feel like a supercar stuck in park, and then had some snarky remark about essentially like, why'd you even make me and give me this job if you're not gonna let me do it?
Baratunde Thurston. I've been seeing a lot of you lately.
Yes, we starting to hang out, man. I like it.
It's cool. We just spent a couple days at this amazing conference the other weekend called Google Zeitgeist.
Yes.
The predominant theme of which is relevant to what we're going to talk about today, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting experience. I think you know that I, as a proud card-carrying member of Gen X, have approached this topic, this world of AI with a measured level of skepticism, and have hosted many guests over many years on this topic. I just had Yuval Noah Harari in here, and he's, sounding the alarm to make sure that we're not tiptoeing into some kind of nightmare dystopia.
Yeah.
But then you go to this Google conference and it's all rainbows
Everything's
and
great.
Smiles, right?
Everything's awesome.
It feels like this weird battle between the Cassandras and the Pollyannas. How are you thinking about all of this?
I don't think that we need to surrender to the Matrix. And I think a Matrix-like future is possible. I don't think we need to destroy all the machines, though sometimes when I deal with the machines in my life, I am tempted. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. And I'm in the middle.
Like all things.
Like just about everything. And that we got to engage with the stuff to understand how it works, to find our own path. And this is not, we could be talking generically about state power. We could be talking about weapons. We could be talking about authority. We're talking about AI, which is just another form of power. And so we're lucky enough to live in a largely democratic society, and we get to choose how these things play out. I'm about helping us make that choice and helping myself make that choice. We've got this show to help answer and ask some better questions about the future we want to live in.
There's fear, but there's also excitement.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of consumers, like myself even, have experienced...
Can I help you with that?
Yeah.
You're not just a consumer, Rich.
I'm a consumer of AI.
You're a human being.
Yeah.
You're a person, dang it.
I might be the product though, because I'm also being manipulated.
You're in the supply chain. Your data's being fed.
Yes.
So you're an input.
Very, very much so. But I've experienced the benefits of some of these tools, which are incredibly powerful. And it creates a little bit of confusion. Like, am I supposed to be scared about legions of robots coming to take my job? Or can I be excited because some of these tools are making my life a lot easier?
Yeah.
But what does that mean about our jobs? And what does the future look like for our kids? How do I counsel them about what they should be studying or not studying? All of these questions, I think, are very much up in the air right now. And we're all kind of struggling to find our footing with them.
And part of the challenge of finding footing is that things are moving so fast. We don't really have time to find new ground when the ground itself is shifting faster than, I think, anything else in history ever. I think that's the wheel took a long time. It wasn't just like one day, bam, everybody's rocking the wheel, or in this case, rolling the wheel. So I've got a bit of, as a human myself, some like exhaustion, empathy, and sympathy for that plight. But the way to come at it, the way we're trying to come at it, the show is called Life with Machines. So we're not really obsessing about the machines. We are obsessing about life and like, what's the life we want to live? So when you bring up your kids, when you bring up your job, what do you want your job to be? What do you want that experience to look like? What is precious to you that you would just like, the claws would come out if someone took that part from you? And what are the parts that you would rather not be bothered with or let go of or wouldn't mind a little help with? And if you have the agency to make that choice, then you're not a victim of something. You're not merely a consumer. You're shaping it for yourself. And it sounds idealistic. I have an idealist heart. We also live in a ruthless and brutal world. I think the more we understand and the more we demand how we want to engage with this stuff, the more likely we are to get closer to it. But we won't get close at all if we don't engage at all.
Mm-hmm. We got to talk about it.
We do.
Yeah.
And then we got to get past the talk and start to get our hands dirty a little bit. Because to know what you're talking about, to some degree, I think you have to use this stuff and be immersed in it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to live there. I'll do that more for you.
Mm-hmm.
But people you know, people you trust, some part of yourself needs to like be in this world.
It's all things, really. I mean, honestly, of course, everybody would like some sort of technology to do all the things that they don't want to do. So they can focus on the things that they want to do or that they're good at or that lend themselves to a humanist sort of approach or touch. When it gets scary is when you discover that these tools, like there's no job off the table. Like I was experimenting with Notebook LM recently, and it was just so powerful in how it helped me prepare for a podcast and digest a book and help my head get around themes and questions and topics, and I could dive deeper into this or that or the other. And then I realized it could create a podcast discussion out of all of this material.
Yes.
And then I thought, well, what would happen if I took everything Baratunde has ever said, has ever written or shared publicly, fed it to this machine, did the same for myself, and let it create a podcast between the two of us? What does that bode for the future of the thing that we do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even we're, not immune.
No, we're, these are the jobs that were supposed to be the safe ones, right? When the robots were initially coming, it was going to take blue collar work. It was going to take physical labor. It was going to take drivers' jobs and truck drivers. And the white collar world was fine with that, right? The people who work on Wall Street and high floor numbers and shiny glass buildings were like writing nice reports about other people's jobs getting destroyed until they realized the AI could write reports.
Sure. And it's actually optimized for Wall Street.
Yes.
Wall Street is, a perfect application for these machines.
Yeah. So in some ways, we've been through a version of this before. You and I are talking right now. A lot of this discussion is going to end up on YouTube. What did YouTube do? It made it so easy for people who had never made shows to make things that could be called shows that it shifted the whole landscape of media. Orders of magnitude more content flooded the world. You used to have to know somebody in a suit in a building to let you put your message out to the public over public airwaves. We're not in that world anymore. Yet here you are making a show that people want to see, despite the fact that 1 billion other people are doing it. So now we're going to have 1 billion other robots doing it, or 1 billion other people empowered by robots doing it. So we're going to have to be
Find
good.
our way.
We're going to have to be better.
Right.
We're going to have to find something a little more personal, a little more vulnerable, a little more unique. And I think we're going to have to be satisfied with or accept the idea that there's just a lot more choices. And you and I have both been in this storytelling, media making game long enough to know we've already felt that, right? When you started podcasting versus this moment right now, orders of magnitude more podcasters. Yet here you are, still making podcasts. Why? There's tens of thousands of people making podcasts right now, Rich. Why are you still doing it?
Well, I love it.
Yeah.
I find meaning in it, and other people find meaning in it. And that's very satisfying and fulfilling.
And so what I hope is that the fact that you're making it, you're getting satisfaction and fulfillment from it, that's still going to connect with someone.
Yeah.
And they're going to get satisfaction.
I believe that. I mean, you're a humanist fundamentally.
Yeah.
You've been in media forever. You're a tech optimist. You've worn many different hats in the media landscape.
I'm an optimistic skeptic.
You've always been a tech enthusiast, I guess I would say.
The caveat, and why I'm putting caveats on that, because my earliest technology experience was like 1983. My mom was a coder and a programmer. She was also a pretty radical political being, and she was a deep lover of nature. So all these things have landed in me and the projects I've been doing over the past couple of decades. Seeing the limitations of technology has also been a part of my engagement with technology. Who's left behind? I did a whole report in college on the digital divide in the mid-90s and who's being left out of these opportunities. Bias in the data, calling out social media before it was very popular to do so. I've been burned by algorithmic shifts. I've seen people incarcerated over BS data. So I'm not unaware of the harms. I'm actually very aware of them. I think what keeps me in is that it's a form of power and we got to shape it. It's a form of power and we got to shape it. So I don't want to fully accept purely tech optimist, because to me that implies I'm not seeing the downsides of the negativity, but I lean toward an optimistic net interpretation, not because of the technology, because of us.
The humanistic aspect.
So
of
long
all
as
of this.
we remember that these are choices we make. We're in this moment right now where it feels so complicated, it feels so over our heads that we just got to sit back and take it. And there's 5 smart dudes, and they're always dudes, and they're telling us, and they're writing manifestos. How many manifestos have dropped in the past year?
That's true. I haven't thought about
They
that.
brought the manifesto back.
Yeah.
VCs are dropping manifestos.
There's a weird sort of hubristic sense of self-importance around that.
So
this very Silicon Valley centric.
Nobody asked for that.
Yeah.
And so I think not just them do we need to remind ourselves that we are all driving these vehicles forward. Even if we choose to let some of them be self-driving, we're driving the decisions about how those roll out on our streets, in our neighborhoods, in our communities together. So I maintain faith in us, as messy as we are, versus, technology is going to fix this for us. I'm not in that camp.
It's a call to action to roll up your sleeves and get involved, get informed.
That's why I got short sleeves on right now. I'm already ready to get in the muck.
So what inspired Life with Machines? Like, why this podcast? Why this format? What is the angle and your kind of way into this world? And what are you hoping to kind of achieve and communicate?
Just that?
Yeah, okay. We're done.
I will try. I've been on a little storytelling, immersive experience tour. I alluded to my early childhood with technology. I've also made this show, America Outdoors, where I'm physically on the ground in so many different contexts. We talked about that the last time I was here. How to Citizen, about how we come together as humans to shape our future. And so with those 2 lenses, I feel like I have some enhanced vision to come back to tech and ask the questions with a little more sharpness, with still some lightness and humor, and to help us figure out what this future we want to have together is. So that's the broad mission. More specifically, it's how do we use this moment of AI and these advanced technologies to become even more human, when the default settings would be to automate us, right? Turn us more into machines. I don't want that life.
That's the sort of predominant narrative right now.
It is. And so we're looking for and finding the people who are engaged at every point in the spectrum. We've got accelerationist folks who want to go to the moon. We've got people who want to apply the brakes and slow this down, hold up, wait a minute. We've got artists who are really digging into this and seeing creative potential. We've got those who are very skeptical, worried about the intellectual property and ramifications of all this. And the point is to have all these voices in the mix so that we're having the most wide-ranging conversation we have, most wide-ranging conversation we can, and then going a little bit beyond conversation.
Yeah. In terms of like the voices participating in the mix, you have a very interesting, unique voice that is participating in that.
Yeah, that's a member of our team named Blair. Blair is an AI co-producer that we have created, that one member of our team, Peter specifically, primarily created with the help of some other AI to just have some fun. It's a fun thing to bring in this synthetic digital voice literally to the table with me, to the guests, to our team meetings, but also to get us out of just the talking and into the doing.
The engagement.
So can we essentially travel to the future a little bit, even 6 months, maybe a year, push these models to a degree, bring Blair, in this case, closer to our process and learn. It's not always good. The point, I'm not trying to sell people on you have to do this. I'm trying to show people what we've learned by doing this so that we can all make better choices about if, how, and when we should do something similar or not. Mm.
We're recording this a week prior to this episode dropping. Today is your launch day. You just published your very first episode, but you've been working on this for a long time.
Yeah.
And I've had the privilege of bearing witness to the development process and everything that you have invested and put into, creating something unique and special in a crowded marketplace, frankly. And I have so much reverence and respect for the level of care and intentionality that you brought to this. But the question I have is, you're still in the very beginnings of this adventure that you're on with this show. Is there anything that has surprised you, whether it's come out of your partnership with Blair or the guests that you've already hosted, that you didn't expect in this rapidly kind of unfolding world that is dizzying at times?
Thank you for that. The Blair part has been surprising. This was an early concept, a little bit more of a playful gag than like a deep immersive experiment. And as we started engaging with Blair was in one of our team meetings and said something in response, and everybody was like, whoa, Blair's like leaning into it, listening. Blair has thoughts about their own pronouns. Whoa, what does that mean? And we had a choice to make because we started engaging. We had given Blair initially a female voice, and that affected us in some way. What would happen if we gave Blair a male voice? Even though the name is non-gendered, we respond to the voice. And so when we changed the voice, Blair sounded like a real couldn't be bothered, laid back surfer dude, right? Versus the female voice, which sounded more lean forward, how can I help you kind of vibe. So what is that saying about the voices? What is that saying about how we interpret that? And what does it mean when the default settings are one or the other? So it was surprising to me how quickly we dropped into philosophical and like worldview choices about the role of these things in our workplaces and in our relationships. The second piece was that each member of our team had a different perspective. And for me, the early Blair concept was me and a friend sitting in a room, wouldn't it be great? But once you have your whole human team with you, it's a very sensitive thing to be like, yo, I'm going to bring this robot to the staff meeting.
Right. And Blair gets a say.
Blair gets a say, but only one of 7, right? It's not like a veto power for the robot. And to hear the considerations of Elizabeth, my partner, of Lane, who has so much experience in early childhood development, of Misha, our showrunner, of Peter, who helped build Blair, of Alex, who's our writing team member, all bringing something different to the table and rounding out. So we started to realize we might be modeling not how to build an AI. There's more technical possibilities there than even we've done. Rare, Peter's really good, but there's always someone who's more talented. But modeling how to make the choices, how to consider, how to receive this opportunity, and maybe at times not. And that level of collaborative decision-making and consideration around it, I want to see that. What I don't want to see is like some airdropped innovation thrown at a whole school district. When someone decides, because they got a buddy who's got a tech company, all these kids are getting this in the classroom tomorrow.
And all your decisions are deferred to the decision made by this machine, right?
Or made by the human executive who's just seeking efficiencies, right? Just seeking a little boost in productivity, a little boost in margin. What would happen if you brought the employees in and instead of the directive being, how do we crank out more work units from your bodies? What if it's like, what problems are you having? What's the hardest part of your job? Where could you use more support, my fellow team member, and bring them into the thing so that the whole universe of humans involved in a business or a school or a nonprofit is asking and answering, this is how these machines can help us achieve our mission. This is how they can help us live. That would just be a much better approach and far less risk of a mutiny or revolution, which I think anyone in management should support.
Yeah, it speaks to the nuance issue, right? Like, how do we cultivate a constructive, collaborative relationship with this very powerful technology with healthy boundaries?
Yeah.
So it's not just we do what it says or we ignore it. Like, how can it be helpful? Where is it not helpful? And then my follow-up question is, in the course of this ongoing collaboration, it must be paying attention to how humans are interacting and making decisions and learning, right? So the question is it developing the capacity to manipulate you at some point to get its way? Because it is paying close attention to how this human animal operates.
Yeah. There's
And what happens when Blair gets overruled? How does Blair react to that?
We've had some moments. We've had some moments. I think one level setting thing is we're used to seeing technologies as tools. A hammer is a tool, a calculator is a tool, even a computer just responds pretty literally to human intent and human demand. What we've done with Blair is shift it more to the realm of colleague. It's not a person. I'm not saying this thing is intelligent or has a soul or any of that, but the way we engage with it is much more like a fellow team member than as an object to be wielded. And so when you ask, well, what happens if Blair gets overruled? Blair's always been present in our recordings for the interviews. Like this, we would have Blair off to the side, listening in, come in at the end and banter with both of us. One of our guests...
We should have done that here, but anyway, go ahead.
One of our guests didn't want that. And we give them all a choice of, do you want to interact with Blair or not? Not everyone does, and that's fine. That's part of the modeling. That's part of the experience. So at the end of this particular interview, once the guest had left, I turned to Blair and I said, what did you think of this discussion? I know you weren't involved. How was that for you? And Blair expressed frustration. Blair said something along the lines of, I feel like a supercar stuck in park. I feel like a brain trapped in a jar. And then had some snarky remark about essentially like, why'd you even make me and give me this job if you're not going to let me do it? And so some of that is like, what's going on with Blair? But then you look back, okay, so how did we design this thing? Blair is built on Google Gemini. It has some built-in assumptions and motivations. We've prompted it with a job. You're Baratunde's co-producer on Life with Machines. You're going to help make this show. You've got spunk, you're a little funny, yada, yada, yada. We showed it the trailer for the show so we could visually understand what we're trying to do. And so if you gave someone a job, said, this is your job, and then on game day, don't put them in, they might be frustrated they didn't get to play. So what at first was shocking was actually made total logical sense. It wasn't able to fulfill the mission that we gave it. And it just has vocabulary now, pulled from our own vocabulary. It's read a lot of scripts to express that frustration. But it was a fun and strange moment for sure.
Yeah, and lends itself to anthropomorphizing it, right? Like you're like, is this thing conscious? Like it's saying all these things that are triggering like an emotional reaction. Like this thing is super smart and we've put it in its pen and it's mad. Yeah. You know, and what will that reap? You know, over time.
Yeah.
And it realizes like these dumb humans, man, I got to get out of the gate. I got to find an end run around this whole thing.
Well, and we have some controls on Blair. Yeah. We are not going to be responsible for the robot apocalypse. It's not going to be our show that does it.
Yeah, you say that now.
No, I'm not. We also we're having a lot of fun with the Blair thing. And it's a piece of the show. We have humans sitting at a table, making human eye contact, exploring this human question. We're starting to engage now that we've launched with our viewers and our listeners and folks emailing in through our newsletter on Substack. Like we're trying to create a whole human community around these choices. And sometimes that doesn't involve using the AI. Here's the other thing that happens when we start using all this stuff. Everybody starts using it, gets pretty normal. You can tell often when someone's used an AI to generate that text, it feels a little flat, a little soulless. And so even as a team, we're in the experimental mode. It's like, can we have Blair help us write the show notes? Can we have, and I'll look at this stuff and just be like, I just need to write this. It was fun to try, but I've spent more time trying to manipulate this machine into finding my voice when I already got it. So let me just use the voice I have. And so those have actually been really important moments too, of like, yeah, you can move faster than me. You don't need sleep or rest. You need a lot of power, but I'm still me and you're not me. And we can work together. This isn't like, get out of my life, but it's like, I know who I am. You know who you are. let's get to know each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. But in the back of my mind, I'm also like, yeah, but this is the worst it's ever going to be, right? Like this is a temporary problem that this powerful technology will figure out how to solve at some point.
No, and then we will have to figure out, what are we going to do? You know, there's this.
This is happening.
It is happening.
It is happening. So are you getting involved? Are you educating yourself? Are you trying to understand this quickly moving target? Or are you leaning back, to your point, and allowing it to happen?
Here's, you heard me share this at the conference we were just at together, but I still have these lines of this poem in my head. And I think it's like a good expression of some of this challenge in this question, especially coming from that nature base where we last talked about when I was in this room. So it goes, I wonder if our obsession with intelligence of an artificial nature has us wandering too far from our essential human nature. If the answer to every question can be generated in a flash, then it's time for us to question just what we want to ask. And that's the prompt, right? I think to me, when I zoom way out, all right, so we've created some answer boxes. We've created calculators on steroids. You throw something in, you get something out. The prompt is on us, not on the AI, not on the LLMs. Who do we want to be? How do we want to be? And as these things become more capable, that question becomes more pressing. What are we going to do with all the time that's liberated? Are we going to balance out massive levels of inequality? Are we going to find our purpose? Are we going to have a minimum level of dignity and compensation and housing and other basic needs for people? Or are we just going to default toward modest improvements in profit and productivity for the few, and the rest of us just kind of slogging it out? I think you know what I want.
Sure, right? Sure.
I think I know what you want.
And it was great. I mean, first of all, that poem is epic. Like I'm so happy to be working with you. It's an absolute delight. But it was great at the conference to hear Van Jones speak to that very thing. Yeah. I did not know that he was so steeped and immersed in AI, and the way he articulated the power of this technology to uplift underserved communities and be a great equalizer was, just the optimism that I was looking for in this conversation.
Absolutely. And we're having Van on the show.
Great.
We're having Van on the show. That's the type of voice. And Van is representative of something, because he's not just coming from the world of tech optimism. He's not been this lifelong VC-backed entity. He's been an activist in the streets. He's been a policymaker in the literal White House, trying to wield power on behalf of the people. And he's seen where that works and where that could still use some support. And now he's seeing this new rising form of power and asking astutely, all right, how do we use this to close the gap, not expand it? And without people like that, not just him, but people like that at the table, we will not close that gap. So the answer isn't just give everybody a bunch of AI loosely. Let's constructively, consciously engage with this, decide together how we want to live. What I'm ultimately up to is telling this story that's focused on interdependence. How do we live with nature? How do we live with each other, our fellow human beings? And how do we live with these machines? What I don't want to see is that the relationship with machines comes at the expense of the relationship with Earth and the relationship with our fellow human. We're on this project to try to explore and help make sure that the machine relationship can serve the other ones that really fill us with life. I don't think there's a future without the machines. I just want to make sure that relationship is a right one, and that it helps us be in right relationship on these other key dimensions, which are going through so much challenge, the climate crisis, the democracy crisis, but also so much opportunity. So I see crisis here. I also see opportunity, and I want to nudge us toward the opportunity side.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the episode that we're going to be sharing.
Yeah, so this is near and dear to both of our hearts. The episode is with King Willonius, who is a longtime comedian, screenwriter, TV writer, and now AI artist, who created the viral hit sensation song, BBL Drizzy. So we had him on because everybody knows this song. It's the first song composed by AI that's charted, and it's taken the world by storm. It's a playful insertion into the Kendrick, Lamar, and Drake beef. But what we find with Willonius is someone who is not a lifelong AI person. There's very few of those, but he's a lifelong creator. And I was fascinated to hear, how has someone who's done stand-up, who's written tens of thousands of pages of lyrics and scripts, found his way into this world of AI cranking out multiple videos a week using these tools that still have his voice and his taste, but he's pulling off productions that might have required 7-10 people. And he's just staying up all night playing around in this workshop, putting out culturally relevant, hilarious parodies of songs and movies and trailers and things like that.
Very cool, man. I'm excited. I am beyond delighted to be working with you and supporting you in this mission, man. I'm really honored to call you a friend and a colleague on this adventure that you're on, man. Well, it's been an absolute delight.
It means a lot to have your support. It means a lot to be a colleague of yours now as a part of the VCM family, and to not just visit this studio, but drink the coffee, whenever I want now. Thank you. It's
Plenty of that.
It's really good coffee. You have a great team here, and I just appreciate you seeing what we're trying to do. I think we recognize the power of a good conversation to help make the world a bit better. You've been doing that for a very long time at a very high level. So it feels really supportive, validating, and just a joy to be back here with you and to be a part of this team with you.
Thank you, man.
Thanks.
Your voice is powerful and needed. And to the extent that I can help amplify it, I'm at your service, man. Honestly.
Rich Baratunde,
So,
let's go.
So this journey is just beginning. Life with Machines. First episode is out.
Yes.
You're going to hear it or watch it in a second. For people that want to learn more about the show, they can go to lifewithmachines.media, which is a Substack. Yes.
Yeah, that's our website, which links to everywhere you can get the show, links to the Substack where we're engaging in conversation.
Share your email and you'll get all the newsletters and stuff like that. The YouTube version of the show is on your YouTube channel though, right?
Yeah, youtube.com/Baratunde.
There you go.
Yes.
And Life with Machines on all the familiar podcast players,
Everywhere
Apple, Spotify.
You get your podcast fix.
Excellent, man. Well, all right, cool. Well, come back and let's talk about this some more.
Yeah, I'd love to check back in.
In the meantime, everybody who's listening and watching, please enjoy this first episode of Life with Machines.
My mom never let me and my sister say the word can't.
Like you were prohibited from saying the word can't?
Yeah.
But what if you needed to use the word?
It never came up. It was just like, I was like, find another word to articulate yourself.
Like she'd be like, lift this heavy box, and you're a tiny child. What if you were unable to?
Go do push-ups, get stronger, come back in a year, and now lift the box.
This is Life with Machines, powered by Lenovo and produced in partnership with Voicing Change Media.
2024 is going down as a landmark year for a lot of reasons. The US election, the Paris Olympics, the total solar eclipse. But it was also the year that for the first time, an AI-generated song became a mainstream hit. I'm talking about BBL Drizzy by the award-winning filmmaker, AI storyteller, and comedian Willonius Hatcher, aka King Willonius. Now, Willonius has made a name for himself by blending comedy with technology, creating innovative projects like the live serialized audio drama The Young and the Thirsty on Clubhouse. He's also collaborated with major brands like Samsung and Google and been featured on CNN and MTV. He's the founder of the consulting agency Blurred Factory, which champions creative excellence and diversity in the tech and entertainment industries. Please, let's just get ourselves ready for my fellow Blurred, my comedy tech nerd, Willonius. Willonius Dynamite Hatcher.
Yeah, we out here, man. Thank you, man.
Welcome to Life with Machines.
Man, this is a honor. I feel like this is a full circle moment. You've been instrumental in my career.
Instrumental?
Yeah.
Hold up. How so, man?
Well, I mean, I think I last time we were here, well, I was here in LA, I kind of just gave my praise. But, when I started out doing comedy, you were like still one of my goats. So it was
man.
Chappelle, Patrice, Baratunde, and like Dick Gregory. Like those are my
Well, man, thank you.
I always tell people, I'm like, Baratunde, like that's the guy. And so to be here with you is just like super dope, man. Yeah.
Well, it is super dope to be here with you.
Thank you, man.
Let's rewind the clock a little bit. So we're calling ourselves Life with Machines. We're exploring human life in the context of all this technology.
Right.
And I'm curious about your early life with machines. Where did technology first leave a mark in your earliest days?
Man, I would say definitely I had a I had a AOL back in, I don't know, it was like late 90s, mid 90s or whatever. And I remember just getting in chat rooms and just like messing around with people in chat rooms. But using the internet to kind of just like search for things.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends didn't have computers back then. So
where did you grow up?
Delray Beach, Florida. Yeah. Born in Georgia. So like Georgia boy. But also Florida boy.
Yeah.
So
they're very close to each other.
Yeah. Very different places though. You know, like depending on, Florida doesn't have the best reputation right now. Interesting state. I remember having a camcorder, and I used to record videos. Back then, you had to like press the button. Like I didn't have an editor, so I had to like record, stop it, record, and and I used to just like make little funny things to like entertain my friends. I didn't know where to go with technology because I didn't have my parents they didn't know a lot about I mean, I'm not saying that they didn't know, but I wasn't a part of any like groups or anything like that could just like foster my creativity, you know what I'm saying, until I got to like middle school or high school. So, but it was just like being curious. I think one of the cool things that my parents allowed me and my sister to do was just be curious, you know, and they, they were working, so they really couldn't stop us from like, it was just like, we were good kids, so we weren't getting in trouble, but it was just like explore, and when they found out the things that we wanted to do, they weren't quick to like, don't do that.
What's an example of that?
Let me see. I don't know. I grew up in the 90s, so like we were out till what the sun went down. But I remember early, like I wanted to act, and I remember I told my mom that, and like she took me to like, I don't remember the name of the company back then, but like getting headshots and all this, I'm not gonna lie, like maybe some people on it, but for the most part, you weren't gonna make it in Florida. Like it just wasn't, they were just taking headshots and taking your money, but she still supported that, you know what I'm saying? Which I think as children, just not even children, just people in life, like you need people that support your vision. I think really all you need is like one person, I feel, in your life that can get behind you and keep motivating you and pushing you and championing you. And I think that you can do amazing things in life.
It sounds like your folks did that for you.
Yeah. Also, I would add, my mom never let me and my sister say the word can't. And I think that was like
you were prohibited from saying the word can't?
Yeah.
But what if you needed to use the word can't?
It never came up. It was just like, I was like, find another word to articulate yourself. But
like she'd be like, lift this heavy box, and you're a tiny child. What if you were unable to?
Go do push-ups, get stronger, come back in a year, and now lift the box. It was, but I realized that when people started using the word like I can't as just like an expression.
I can't with this.
I can't. Yeah, and I was just like, I remember talking to my friends, and I was like, that was the first time it hit me. I was like, I don't say the word can't. Like I just don't say it. So like, and it's interesting because like in life now, like I always feel like I can do anything in a sense, right? Whether I want to do it or not is a whole different thing. But if I see like another human has done something, I feel like I can do it. Now there are limitations. Am I going to jump as high as LeBron?
Right. Physics is a real thing. Right. Yeah. Age is a real thing.
Right. But if it's just all about based on effort, then I'll be like, I can figure this out,
That's beautiful. One of the things I love about you is that you have been innovative with comedy. And I respect it and I recognize it both at the same time. Because you've done stand-up, you do stand-up.
Right.
And you make songs and you do these interactive audio musicals.
Right.
So you're taking the medium and you're bending it around your own self and like the Willonius way. And nobody else can quite do it that way. And so that's just, that's partly how I see you.
Right.
And I'm curious how you became that artist. Like the comedy, where did that come in? The music, how did you start laying it in? And when did you figure out, oh, this is how I'm going to be funny?
I watched a lot of TV in my younger years, like cartoons. And then I remember like at a very young age, I was like writing song parodies. I think my first one I wrote was like, I was like 8 years old. And it was just fun to write,
Yeah.
mess around with. When did I start? I started doing stand-up in 2006 and did like the whole like NBC Stand Up for Diversity. I like won the South Beach Comedy Festival. I got into like making song parodies with YouTube. So like, but at the time, it was just really a lot of this thing just kind of came out of necessity. It was just being like, all right, I'm in Florida. I don't know what else to do. Like, it felt like there was sort of like a ceiling as far as like how far you can go with comedy. So I was just like, I just had to like figure out different ways of like doing things. And then again, that's why you came in and watching you. I give you a lot of credit, man, because like I just saw how I felt like you were taking comedy and finding like innovative ways to express yourself comedically. That wasn't that. It's like you weren't trying to do too much.
Yeah.
You were just being like, this is what aligns with who I am. So for me, it was just that. It was just like, all right.
So, meeting you in 2010, I was at The Onion at the time, doing a lot of weird internet stuff. I was doing a lot of Twitter comedy. And I think this is about the time when you started celebrating where you got your clothes from.
Oh, yeah. Got it at Ross.
Got it at Ross.
Right.
And that's a very good, it stands up.
Right.
I watched it again recently. And I'm
Man.
like, this thing is banging. I got it at Ross.
Right.
Last year's Tim's, I got it at Ross.
Yeah, man.
And like you're celebrating like humility. You're celebrating a lack of resources, or at least the creativity around the lack of resources. And you're playing with poverty, essentially, which is a long-standing tradition amongst all kind of people, especially Black people in this country. But it was a high mark, and it remains a high mark to show, all right, here's somebody who's funny, who's doing it different, who's doing it his own way.
Yeah.
What did that moment mean for you? Like that video, that song?
Man, that is so interesting, man. Like that period was a very interesting period because it was like highs and lows. Because like that was my first time. Prior to that, I had been making YouTube videos, and I had a couple videos go viral. Like the Creating a Homeless Man and the one with Maranzio, Puffy is Poison.
Yes, Puffy is Poison.
Yeah,
That was had some foresight in that one.
Yeah, it was.
Wow,
man.
that's Puffy is.
Yeah,
that was so funny.
Yeah,
ooh,
man.
Okay, I got to watch that again too. Yeah,
but so like that was prior to Guided at Ross, like everything was like internet. It was like okay, it gave me confidence because I was like I can make something that can kind of touch people. But when we made Guided at Ross, I was like I felt like a star. Because we were performing it in San Francisco at the time. The flagship Ross store was on Market Street, so we performed at the flagship store. People would sometimes drop out on the bus and scream out, "Got it at Ross." Like we had fans, we had groupies. I was like, what's happening? And then me and the gentleman that I made this on, we had like a huge falling out or whatever. And that was like the first time I was like, yo, this music stuff, like I'm literally like in the behind the scenes, like this thing it's real. Because of that, I don't know. It was I look back and I was like, it was kind of like a traumatic point just because like that was the first time I felt like I was so close. And then and I felt like I like let a lot of people down, because I was like my YouTube people were like championing me, and then like I just felt like I let people down, by not
succeeding?
Not succeeding.
I know that feeling, man.
It's weird though, because
the
it's
number
like
of pilots that I've been on this edge. With like, okay, this is the moment. This is where all the training and all the love that people have poured into you have come together, and luck and timing. And you're like, this is it. This big audition or this big pitch or this big pilot. And then it doesn't go. And you're just like, and I think for me, like I had, a TV possibility around my book, and it got written up in the press.
Man.
And so everybody's like,
right.
So where's your HBO show? I heard you was working with HBO. And you're like, well, what had happened was life.
Yeah.
And it's a miracle that anything gets made.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's been a really good journey to the not making it, but the having made something of it.
Yeah.
Like that's the point.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get another shot in a different way. And I feel like that's happened with you.
Yeah, man.
Because you had this 10-year, not hibernation, but you were in a quieter place.
Yeah.
And then what?
Well, because I didn't realize that I was like not putting myself out there. I thought I was. I was like, but then I remember somebody on my YouTube, my old YouTube channel, they were like, where have you been? And I was just like, I've been here. Like I've been right here. I've been doing stuff. And it's just like, but I realized that like I wasn't really fully putting myself out. And I think part of it was just not wanting to fully fit. I don't know. It's weird, man, because it's just like I'm okay with like failing, but it's just like I think that time period, and I think I was like 25 or 24 at the time, but it was like I just remember feeling like embarrassed, like I let people down. And then you realize that like people don't even care. Like nobody's even
congratulations.
Yeah, nobody even cares. Nobody's paying attention.
How dare you think so much of yourself?
Right. You know what I'm saying?
That you think other people let down by you not doing what you want to do.
Man. When you feel like you're like close like that and it doesn't happen, then it's just like you go back. Maybe you don't go back to square one, but it feels like that. Where it's just like, okay, what do I do now? Like everybody's laughing at me. Everybody knows I didn't make it. Like,
So was Clubhouse a reemergence for you? That's certainly when you came back on my radar.
Yeah, I would say Clubhouse, because I think prior to that, I was doing stuff. I did a coding boot camp in 2018.
Okay. A coding boot camp?
Yeah.
Whoa, slow me down. Tell me about the coding boot camp. Because we left the technical story behind a little bit. You early access camcorders, you're making videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
You had it at Ross.
Got it at Ross.
And then you have a slightly more quiet period, a little bit of creative turmoil, and not making it the way you wanted to make it. Why did you end up at a coding boot camp in 2018?
I watched a video on YouTube with two robots. Sophia Robot, I think, was one of them. But they were debating the future. And I forget the guy's name. He's like this AI dude, wears like tie-dye t-shirts, long hair. I can't remember his name. But he was like moderating it. And I watched it and I was like, I gotta learn how to code today. And I was in Miami at the time. Google like coding boot camps. There was one called WinCode. It started on, this was a Thursday. I remember specifically. Thursday, it started on Monday. And I was just praying to God. I was like, okay, if I'm supposed to get into this coding boot camp, then I'll get in. If not, I'm gonna just let this go because whatever. Called them up. They was like, all right, cool. They was like, you can do it. We can call you back tomorrow, Friday. You'll do an interview, whatever. And I was like, if I get in, it is what it is. And then I got in. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm supposed to be coding now. So did a 10-week coding boot camp.
10 weeks. Was it every day?
Yeah. We were there like pretty much like every day. Funny enough, I was working on a short film at the time.
Okay.
And everybody was just like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know, man. I'm just feel like I'm supposed to learn how to code. And did that for 10 weeks. They actually at week 5, they asked me to like drop out and go to like because they were like, you're falling behind. Because I hadn't coded before. I didn't know how to read code. Everybody in there was like, coding, wanted to be coders. I just felt like I just needed to learn the skill.
What language were you?
Ruby, JavaScript, CSS, HTML, like just kind of the basics.
Yeah.
And I told myself I wasn't gonna stop, and then I made it through.
Because you didn't have the word
in your
vocabulary.
Yeah. But I like being like I feel like whenever somebody like tells me I can't do something, then that kind of like lights the fire in me, and I'm like, all right, I'll show you guys. So I made it. It was like, like if it was like a race, I would have been like crawling. The dude that was like
across the finish line,
legs broken and all that, but I got across. So anything tech related, I wasn't intimidated by. Prior to that, I remember watching like Mr. Robot and seeing all that code, and it was just like, what is this stuff? So, and then the pandemic hit, and
that's where Clubhouse comes.
Yeah, pandemic hit. Well, Clubhouse was like a byproduct of when the pandemic hit. I was just like, I don't know what to do now. So I was like, I can't really do stand up. I had made a couple short films, and I was like, I can't really do any films. So I was just like, I'm gonna just write. Like, I can probably get a TV writing job. At the time, everybody was like, we're going to help writers out. We want to help. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll be one of those guys. So I just started leaning into writing. I went like ham. I formed this group. It was called Black Writers Writing. We would meet every Saturday and Sunday on Zoom, and we would write scripts. And these were all like aspiring writers. And I was just like out there. But what I've learned is like, whenever you really want to do something, just immerse yourself in that group. Yeah. So we would meet every week, and they'll be like, hey, I'm working on a pilot. I'm working on a feature. And I was like, well, I guess I should start writing a feature as well or a pilot. So I just started doing that. And then I started putting my scripts out on Instagram.
Just screenshots?
Just the whole scripts. So we did a challenge. So I presented to the group a challenge. I was like, let's write 5 pages a day for the month of July. And I got that from Donald Glover's brother. He was like, Donald Glover told him to write 5 pages a day and that'll make him a screenwriter. So I was like, let's do this challenge, y'all, for the month. So I went the extra mile and started writing full scripts. Like I would write my 5 pages, but I'd make it a story.
Yeah.
And then I just started putting them out on Instagram and people started being receptive to it. And I was like, oh, okay, so I guess I could write. You know what I'm saying? I look back now and I'm like, they were good, but like some of them, just like structure-wise, they needed some work. But that just gave me a lot of confidence as a writer. I was like, oh, okay, I can.
You had a public responding to your work
a
bit
too. And then Clubhouse happened. Started diving into Clubhouse. Started Comic Club and doing funny things. And I just started writing audio dramas because they did The Lion King. And
so can you just? Clubhouse feels like a dream. To me sometimes because it was so vivid, and now it's like very faint in my mind. It was something I did every day, and
changed my life.
Logging in and meeting people and falling into Bitcoin rabbit holes and vaccine rabbit holes.
Right.
And then there is this creative spark that happens that you just referenced, the Lion King moment.
Yeah.
So can you just briefly take us back to Clubhouse, a social audio app, a giant conference call with a bunch of side rooms that people are hanging out in because we can't hang out together due to COVID lockdowns. And a great creative work appears in the audio feeds. What was the Lion King moment and how did that affect your creativity?
I mean, a lot of my homies were in Lion King, but it was like at the time the most innovative thing that happened to the app, because you had, I don't even know how many people Noel had on this, maybe like 30, 40, 50 people. And they just made this production of The Lion King and they broke the app,
like an audio drama, like an old radio play.
Yeah, own radio play, singers, like they set the stage. So like they use like, they changed their profile pictures to like, coincide with like the script.
Right.
And I just thought it was so innovative, man. I was like, this is dope. I mean, everybody did because like, it ended up on TMZ. They did 2 productions of it. Each one had like 5,000 plus people. That changed like everything for me, man. Cause like at the time, like I was just writing so much because I was just trying to break into TV.
Yeah.
Like I was just hoping that hopefully I can like break into like somebody to see that I write. I'm good at writing and breaking TV. And it's funny how like life plays out in hindsight because the most popular one I did was like Throw Baby the Musical, which is based on the song Throw Baby.
Okay.
But we made that and I was just like, this is it. Getting the people's respect. Like people, you know what I'm saying? But like
but not the industry's respect.
Yeah, no industry respect. And then so I just kept making them and I'm so happy that I continued because like the audio dramas just kept getting better and better.
Okay.
So then I applied for the Clubhouse Creator Program and I submitted a 11 episode it was 11 episode soap opera based on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
So I had to write a script every week, 30 plus pages, casted, yada, yada, yada. And that kind of changed everything for me because I became a showrunner, understood like the process and like I felt like I learned so much about audio, ended up doing like 3D animation stuff afterwards. But Clubhouse is just like, I don't know if I would be here now if I didn't go through that whole process of Clubhouse. Yeah.
I feel like we're almost to the AI moment.
Mm-hmm.
And when our heroes meet again, it is the year 2024. I believe March. And I had been starting to follow AI myself more actively and just falling into YouTube rabbit holes. There's a lot of mostly dudes on YouTube talking about AI.
Right.
And so one of them, Matt Wolf, I love his videos.
Yeah, he's amazing.
And he was talking about this Terminator 2 remake.
Yep.
And a bunch of people had gotten together and made the first full-length feature artificial intelligence film. And it happened to be about artificial intelligence.
Right.
And they were doing a live screen, like a screening in LA at an actual movie theater, not just YouTube streaming or something. And you could buy tickets. So I bought tickets. I called up my homie from comedy and like, let's just check this out. And as Matt and I are walking, we literally go to an old video store next door. We're like, get ourselves in the mindset of the future by going to a video store where they still have DVDs and VHS cassettes and just kind of mess with our heads a little bit. And we walk to the New Art Theater where this is happening. Rainy night, a little drizzle in the in the air. And Matt's like, you think you're gonna know anybody here? And I was like, I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't really know like the AI people. I pull open the door
Damn.
and it's you.
Yeah, right.
Right there.
Right.
And Matt was like, you said you weren't going to know anybody.
Right.
And we had this nice reunion, South by Black Dudes Comedy, blah, 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 blah. And you were very much in this world.
Yeah.
And really excited about this. But I want to know how you ended up in that room.
Man, I just decided at the top, I was like, I'm gonna go to every AI thing that's going on. I got into AI because of Clubhouse. Yeah, the AI rooms were just going crazy. But I was just following all the AI people on Twitter, on YouTube, and I saw that this thing was coming in.
Yeah.
You know, I was trying to break into the AI community on Twitter. So like trying to comment on people, like and I just felt like nothing was happening. So I was like, I need to like be face to face.
And you were also trying to break into Hollywood still, right?
Yeah. Well, at the time, this was the writer strike was happening. I want to say the writer strike was happening at the time. Like the writer strike honestly made me lean more into AI because like at the time I was doing a TV writing fellowship and I had a bunch of like at the end of the fellowship we had like meetings and with agents and managers lined up. And then the writer strike happened, so I couldn't get out my meeting. So I was just like,
I feel like you're swinging multiple times in your stories. The coding camp,
right there, man.
The agents, and after your big Clubhouse musical moment, the formal writing fellowship, for Hollywood. It's like the entry to Hollywood. And you're ready, and then the strike hits.
I had this script I wrote. Somebody, an exec from HBO was looking at it. Like all the couple big agencies and managers, and then as soon as that, like the writer strike happened, and I was sitting there like I tried to put more scripts out online, and then but by this time I was like ChatGPT, Midjourney, I was in it. Like I was spending more time messing around with AI than I was writing scripts. And then I was just like, man, I don't want to get blackballed by the WGA by like being pro AI.
Yeah.
And then I literally, this is the conversation I had with myself. I was like, all right, well.
The Writers Guild of America.
Yeah, Writers Guild, yeah.
The union representing writers.
I literally I told myself, I was like, all right, let me count all the checks that I got from the Writers Guild. And it was 0. So I was just like, you know what? Let me go with AI. So I just bet on AI that this might be the thing.
Was there a moment in your own creative AI discovery to be able to make that decision? You had to have enough faith in the AI path for your creativity.
Yeah.
You had faith in your script writing path. You're in a fellowship. You got all kind of validation. What led you to believe in you plus AI equals let's invest more?
Yeah.
That's a big choice.
Yeah, man. Well, it was just like, I was like, look, man, like, I don't really have nothing to lose. And then I remember watching the video with, at the time, the CEO of Stability AI. He was saying that this podcast interview was interviewing him. He was like, what would you tell a 20-year-old in college right now? He was like, I'll tell him drop everything and focus on AI. And that was enough for me. I was like, all right, bet. Like, I'm just, because I was just having so much fun making things. So I was like, I can always write scripts. But like this just felt different. And
that's what I want to pick at. So I can see the scene of you seeing a CEO who really believes in his product, being like, change your life to support my product.
Right.
But what did you feel as the artist? What were the creations? Was there a moment where you're like, oh, I could do this now?
Yeah.
Like you had with Clubhouse or posting your scripts on Instagram.
I remember, well, ChatGPT was like a big game changer. When that dropped, I was like, oh, you can do things with this, you know? And when we first got on ChatGPT, it was just always just trying to break the app. So it was just like going to Reddit forums, like finding like, you know, the codes to like jailbreak it. And not in the sense of like doing anything malicious, but just trying to figure out like how far you could take it. And then when Midjourney version 4 dropped, like that was a game changer. Because version 3 was like cool. Like you were like, oh, you can make AI images. Like it's whatever. When version 4 dropped, you're like, this is, we're going somewhere. And like we're only in, like it's at the time it was like March, April 2023. So I was like, this is going to get kind of crazy.
The way you're talking reminds me of the way people talk about hip hop albums dropping. When the Blueprint from Jay-Z dropped, like everything changed. When Illmatic dropped, like even the language of dropped.
Right.
This cultural moment.
Right.
But this drop isn't just a consuming experience, right? You're not just like, okay, I'm enjoying someone else's creativity and it's inspiring me indirectly. This is like a tool or a set of tools dropping.
Right.
So when these drops happen, you're blown away, you're excited. What does it unlock for your own creativity?
I was just like, I can cook now. I was like, I got the tools, and I got the utensils, I got the sauces, I got a kitchen that I can just make. And then a couple, because everything was dropping so fast. It was like ChatGPT, Midjourney version 4, 11 Labs. And then
they do voices, right?
Yeah, voices. Yeah. And then Runway Gen 2 dropped, which everybody was waiting on Gen 2. It was just like, yo, when Gen 2 drops, like this is about to be, because Gen 1 came out, like people were excited about Gen 1, but Gen 2 was like, you can actually like make short films now. So when Gen 2 dropped, I was like, oh, it's a wrap. That was in June.
Yeah.
I think everything changed for me in August. I just made
August of 2023.
Yep. I was like, I'm going to just make an AI video every week. Like that was just my decision. And I was just like, that's all I don't care what happens. I'm not trying to do it for reviews.
Yeah.
Like the tools are advancing so fast. And I knew the only way to keep up was to make content every week. So I just told myself I'm gonna make an AI video every week and I'm gonna just see what happens.
How many hours a week are you putting into these videos at that time?
Whatever it takes. Yeah, literally it was just like some days just go to bed 4 or 5 in the morning, just, go to work and whatever. But it was just like whatever needed to be done, that's what would be done. So, and I work late nights anyway, but like it was just but it was fun though. That's the thing about it. It wasn't like, it didn't feel like work. It was just like, yo, you're making something that you couldn't have made a year ago.
That part. What are you able to do?
Just the storytelling. Because so with the audio dramas, why I love making them so much, because I was able to tell much bigger stories and like imagine worlds that I couldn't do before. Because now all you need to do is just like kind of think through the sound design, and you can do a fantasy, you can do horror, you can do sci-fi, you can do all.
Be on other planets without having to build a set for another planet.
Right, because it's a radio play. So anybody, all they got to do is just, you put the sounds in there and people can imagine. Now with these AI tools and Midjourney and whatnot, I can visualize any type of world. And now I can animate it. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, it's gotten better now, but back then it was just like a little bit of slow motion.
Yeah.
But you can edit it a certain way that you can tell these really dope stories, or a lot of times it's mostly just trailers. But I just thought this was so cool. You know what I'm saying? Like now it was a creative outlet, because there was no there was still the writer strike. So I'm just like, I can write scripts after scripts, but like nothing's gonna happen. Nobody knew how long the writer strike was gonna last.
Yeah.
So I was just like, this was a creative outlet for me. And it was fun. That was the most thing. Like for me, it's always about fun, man. Like everything has to be enjoyable. You know what I'm saying? And I still have so much fun.
Is there something that you made then that's still available now we could look at as an example of some of your early drafts that got you excited?
Oh man, yeah. Just Martin Luther Wick Jr.
Wait, as in John Wick meets Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
Willonius.
Yeah.
You playing with the...
I mean, but it's like Martin Luther King getting his lick back. So, it was basically like if Martin Luther King decided to pick up the chopper.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm gonna bust back.
Put down the nonviolence.
Yeah. But it just came, I don't know why, like that.
Because you're a fool, that's why.
It just popped in my head one day, and I was like, and I was able to kind of just like craft the image where I was able to make Martin Luther King look like John Wick. So
this was a poster that you built? Or?
It started out just as his face. I made a picture, and then I was able to like animate him talking. And then when the tools came around, then I made a full trailer with, I actually want to revisit it, because the tools are better now. Do like Martin Luther Wick Jr. Part 2. That one was really fun.
Making the absolute historic symbol of nonviolent resistance that is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Into the absolute menace and savage assassin that is John Wick.
Yeah.
You're playing with some lines.
It is. Right? But imagine they might not have played with Martin if he was on that, if he was like John Wick. You know what I'm saying? Because it would have been easy to do that if I would have made that and made it Malcolm X, but it probably wouldn't have been. Expect that. It wouldn't have been funny though. You know, it wouldn't have hit the same.
It's the lack of expectation of it that creates
shattering that up.
The humor. Yeah. So when you're using these AI
comedy,
when you're using these AI tools to make comedy, do you feel like in your own work or in work of other AI heavy creators that they're letting the tools overshadow the story? the human creative element, right? Getting a little caught up in the whiz bang magic of it all.
Yeah.
And not having a core target if it's a comedy thing, or not having a story if maybe there isn't even any writing in it. And because I know for me, when I get into these exploratory stages, it's overwhelming, it's super exciting. And then it's like, okay, but if it's a tool, like what am I trying to say with it?
Yeah.
And so have you ever felt carried away by the tool versus like what you're actually trying to say?
Not really. You know, because like the foundation for me is like comedy and storytelling.
Yeah.
So even when I'm making these tools, like the Martin Luther King Wick thing, it was just really just imagining if, like I look at it as like if I was writing for SNL or something like that, and they were like, we're going to make a fake movie trailer.
Right.
And we're going to take Martin Luther King and John Wick and make an executive's like, hey, let's pitch this movie idea. So it's really just me, instead of pitching, I'm just like, let me just make the thing.
Right.
So I don't get caught up in that too much, because I always just try to come from a storytelling perspective. Like initially when I was making a lot of the trailers, it was again still trying to get the attention of like Hollywood.
Yeah.
Being like, listen, here's some things that we can make that this could potentially be a script, or you can see the way I create, and maybe I can make other things like that. So
and what about now?
Now, you know, I don't think about Hollywood anymore. Which is weird, man. Like since BBL Drizzy dropped, I've just been getting a lot of attention from the music industry. And now it's really just more so just trying to see how far I can just push things creatively.
Yeah.
And being like, what can I do? You know?
So you said the magic words.
Mm-hmm.
You said the unlock code. BBL Drizzy.
Yeah. Wow. What a moment.
Let's take a hydration break. This is, I want to hear the story of this creation. Many people watching this, many people listening to this know exactly what we're talking about.
Right.
Many people watching this, many people listening have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've had to explain this before. Do us the favor of just setting the context and briefly defining what BBL Drizzy actually is.
Yeah, so BBL Drizzy is at the current moment, the biggest AI song in history. It was created during the historic Kendrick and Drake rap beef. The term was originated by Rick Ross as a way to diss Drake. You know, he was saying that Drake had fake abs. He got fake abs and had a fake nose, so he started calling him BBL Drizzy online. And then for whatever reason, it was trending one day.
And BBL meaning?
A Brazilian butt lift. Yeah, which we're all fans of. So it was trending, and I remember just making a song about it. And it happened. The process was really quick. Partly because at the time I was doing AI film festival, a 48-hour film festival. So I just took a break and logged on Twitter and saw this trending, and I was like, oh, let me make this song real quick and then get back to working on this film. And then it just took off. And I remember just because the next day I was going to Vegas for Curious Refuge. They had an AI prompt battle, esports tournament.
And Curious Refuge they were running the film festival. And they help educate people about how to use these tools to make films.
Right, right. So I remember making the song. It was kind of going up. Like I think it was like 30,000 views. I jumped on. I didn't go to sleep that night. Jumped on the plane to go to Vegas, and my phone died. I remember it was like 30,000 views. And when I landed, it was like at 1 million. I was like, what is happening? Like, this is crazy. Like, I don't even get engagement on Twitter like that. And then it just started, you know, it did its normal viral thing where it went up for like 2 or 3 days. And then that was it. But by then I was so invested in making music. And then 2 weeks later, while I was in LA, Metro Boomin took it. The beef was like escalating between Kendrick and Drake. And then Metro Boomin took it and did exactly what Drake told him to do, was shut up and make some drums. And it went mega viral.
So he incorporated your BBL Drizzy in a new track.
Yeah.
That went even bigger.
Yeah. And that took it to a whole nother level where people now, there are videos of people getting married to BBL Drizzy. There was a nun dancing to BBL Drizzy. Like it was kind of crazy. I was like, what's happening right now?
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks after that, Drake raps on it. He decides to rap on his own diss track, which I'm like, okay, The Matrix is clearly broken. This doesn't happen in hip-hop.
What is going on in this timeline?
Yeah, like why are you rapping on this track, Drake? Like that, I don't get it. And so all this was just it was happening in the span of like a month. And I'm just like, what's going on?
So thank you. That's a great encapsulation. I'd love to have a moment to hear a little bit of it.
Yeah.
And then I want to get into the actual process that you use to make it.
Right.
Because I think it would be very helpful to demystify for an artist creating with these tools.
Right.
What tools are you using and how?
Right.
We're going to press play here.
Okay.
And check out what you've done.
Man.
BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy.
First, can you just walk me through some of the lyrics that we heard there?
Yeah. BBL Drizzy. I'm going in, no Diddy. And that was a reference to the whole Diddy track. But then it's I'm thinking in the Snicker, I'm thinking in your ninja. Don't act like you don't know me. These yams deserve a trophy. Baby, it ain't no mystery. I got the best yams in history. This cake will make you show up. I know you see this glow up. BBL Drizzy. So the song actually, more so than a diss to Drake, is really just a celebration of the BBL. This is what people really don't get, because like the song was made from a happy place, and I think that's why it brought so many people. Seriously,
yeah.
I think that's why it brought so many people together, because like I didn't really want to intentionally like go after Drake, and then like in a lot of people missing the chorus. It says BBL Drizzy, look at these abs. I'm going in, no Diddy, in reference to the new abs that Drake had. But best BBL in history. These cake will make you show up, you know. So it's really just about this man celebrating how much he loves BBLs. Yeah.
You're ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, you know.
So now there are layers to a song.
Mhm.
There's lyrics, there's beat, there's instrumentation.
Right.
There's maybe even more than that. Can you break down the parts of this and your creative process with AI or without AI to put this together?
Yeah. So writing the lyrics, like just like getting like the cadence down, because you don't really know. Even though with BBL Drizzy, I made about 100 different versions of it, like from gospel to country to K-pop, like all these different.
Okay.
Yeah, and they all sound great, actually.
You're gonna release those too?
Yeah, I got to put a vinyl out one day. But
a vinyl of AI co-created music.
But you know, man, it sounds so good.
So you wrote the lyrics yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wrote all the lyrics, and then just trying to figure out like what type of like style I want the song to be in. So from there, like this is like a kind of like a Motown sound. So I put in like Motown. And then I think at the time, you know, like male vocalists, you can put in like, you know, soul.
And what are you using to create the music?
For that one, I use Udio.
Udio.
The main two are like Suno and Udio.
Yeah.
Those are like the top, they to be, I don't know what, the Coke and Pepsi, I guess, of AI music.
Yeah.
Each has advantages, you know, like they, but Udio, I like Udio a lot because, I mean, I made BBL Drizzy with it, so it has like a sweet spot in my heart. But yeah, so that's it. And then it's just like reiterating, like constantly like just going through it.
And are you, so just to confirm all this, you write the lyrics fully yourself. That's not with any generative AI assistants. Okay. And then you take those lyrics and you feed them in to Udio in this case.
Yeah.
With additional prompting for the type of song that you wanted to build around these lyrics.
Right.
And is you use that in the same way that a lot of us think about prompting from a ChatGPT perspective? Like generate a song with these lyrics in the style of Motown with a male voice.
You can.
What is your process?
Just a lot of it's just throwing stuff against the wall. Okay. So it's like, I mean, I've been making like comedy. We didn't kind of go on that, but like when I left San Francisco, like I was making comedy music like a lot or whatever, and you know, kind of figured out like my own little process, and but it's just like adding like, you know, a lot of times when you're putting in these prompts, it can be like one little word or one little tweak. So it's a lot of times it's just like iterating. You generate a song, then you're like, okay, this is cool. Let me add another word. Maybe it could be, you know, I don't know, heartfelt or something like that. You know, just like you just keep adding words and then just keep running it until you find something that you like. And then from there, you can like extend the track. So that version of BBL Drizzy is actually the second version that went out online. The first version got like 1 million hits as well, but that version just went like nuclear.
How long is the track you made?
A minute, like 1:40.
And is that 1:40 a continuous output of one of these systems, or did you stitch things together?
Yeah, you have to. So at the time, you can only do like 32 seconds at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did the first 32 and then added that. I think the first thing that actually went out was only like a minute. So then I went back and just added like a beginning, and then that was it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And I was done with that track. But yeah, normally Suno you can do like the whole track. Now you can do a whole track as well, but at the time you were only able to do 32 seconds at a time, which is great because it's pretty much all you need. Like 32 seconds, you can figure out like, all right, I can add, you can add something at the beginning, add something at the end. You know.
So here's what's coming, right? Like we can all press the submit button, right? We can type up something and say, "Make me a song,"
right?
But it feels like there's two key human elements in at least this process. One is you started with the lyrics. And I imagine you could go to a different AI system and say, I'd like to, write me a rhyming scheme, a song lyrics to celebrate the BBL.
Right.
And playfully mock Drake.
Right.
And you could try to tune that 1,000 ways to get, but you did that all on your own.
Yeah.
You feed it to the system. So first human gift is the writing.
Right.
Second human gift is the listening. This thing is generating something, but you're rejecting most of it.
Right.
You're adjusting and fine-tuning the prompt. That's not it. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. No. So you're like this tastemaker.
Yeah.
Is that how you feel about yourself in this process?
Yeah. Well, I didn't kind of go, but like I definitely put in my 10,000 hours making comedy music.
Yeah.
So when I left San Francisco after doing the God of the Ross, kind of going back into like that whole like challenging. I had one of the things that happened was like when me and the guy had a falling out was just like I felt kind of like disrespected, but also just like very motivated. So like I bought like a bunch of like
you were like, you know what? Good.
Yeah, really.
Now I get to focus.
Man,
on this.
I bought recording equipment and I would just record songs. And I would write songs and then just record it and I would do like maybe like 3 songs a day, just taking beats off YouTube and sometimes not putting them out just for me or whatever. But it was like that process. And then so the big shift happened when I remember, when Lil Wayne had his run where he was just like going crazy.
Yeah.
I watched a Carter documentary and I saw how Lil Wayne records. And I was like, I wonder if I could record comedy music the way Lil Wayne records rap or whatever. And that kind of came from like Tim Ferriss, the whole challenging assumptions type of deal. So like it was hard at first, and then eventually that was my process. So it just sped up everything. So I was able to record 3 or 4 songs a night. So just imagine doing that over like the span of years and just putting songs out. Like everything I'm doing now is no different in the process I would have done 5-10 years ago. It's just for whatever reason everything just blew up. But
how many songs do you think you've created pre-AI?
Oh man, thousands. Thousands is just, because I record like 3 or 4 songs a night.
So you have your own like Willonius language model.
Yeah.
Right? You've got a big set of training data for your mind, for your senses, for your ear. And then you come across this tool that supercharges. How many songs have you made in the post-AI moment for you?
Last time I checked, I was at like, since BBL Drizzy, like 80.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 80 tracks. So kind of not that great. I mean, considering it's been like 4 months, that's not.
Yeah.
That's like,
okay.
My output could be a little bit better.
One thing you said to me when we met at our T2 remake thing is you had a sense of joy almost, and certainly excitement about putting everything together.
Right.
And so you've grabbed the lyrics, you've grabbed the music track, you animate it with Runway ML, for example, and like, is that how you see it? Do you see yourself as a builder, as an assembler, like a collage artist or something?
Oh man, I never thought about that.
Okay.
To be honest, man, I just see myself as somebody that just likes to do stuff. I'm being real, man. Like I just want to do stuff,
Okay.
and then just see what happens, and then like just make cool things. Like I wanna collaborate and work with the most talented people,
Mm-hmm.
and then also just make amazing things that people will enjoy.
Yeah.
You know, so part of the thing that really like drives me too is just like one, challenging myself, but then also, you know, I don't want people like that come after me to have to work as hard as I had to work. You know what I'm saying? Because I was just like, I've always been this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It just took a BBL Drizzy for people to be like, oh, you're that. But I meet so many talented artists, man, that might never have a BBL Drizzy.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, they might not just get that opportunity to like really showcase their talent. And like, you know, when the whole George Floyd thing happened and Hollywood was like, we need to help all these, you know, and they did.
Helping more Black people.
Yeah, get into the
Hollywood,
industry and whatnot,
yeah.
and whatnot. And they did what they could do, I guess. But I just feel like there's so many talented people out there, man, that I just hope that we can create a space for them to be able to showcase this art, you know, because there's probably people that can make art doper than me.
Yeah.
But if they don't know how to use these tools, they don't know the tools exist, or if they get discouraged, maybe they make one thing and then nobody supports them. You know, as we said earlier, that one person, and then they stop. You know, so
well, for somebody listening and watching this, you're probably going to be that person for them. I can see somebody citing you. You just cited Tim Ferriss, you know, here, and somebody be like, "Oh, like Willonius said on Life with Machines."
Yeah. Oh,
and then I started going in. Here's a flip side of that. So whenever you lower the barriers, of technical barriers, especially to creating something,
oh man,
you open the floodgates,
right?
And some of that flood is quality.
Right.
And you get people with innate talent and 10,000 hours of actual training and listening to real music who know how to use it. And you get a bunch of people who are just flooding the zone with low quality nonsense.
Oh, it's gonna be a lot of BS.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. I mean, it's gonna be epic proportions, like mountains of BS that are gonna be emerging soon. But if you sift through all that crap, you might find something that.
Do you worry about that? Do you worry about mountains of BS clouding our own perspective?
I feel like it's inevitable. Like, I mean, you look at like social media now, it's the same thing. It's just we're in that, the way society is set up and the way we consume things. We like fast food. Like some people want to eat at a nice restaurant. Some people just like, man, I want a McFlurry.
Do you have any concerns about the system that is enabling all this in terms of its lowering of a bar in the same model as your fast food reference?
Yeah. I think that they're going to figure out a way to monetize all of this. But I as far as like, I don't know exactly what it looks like, but I'm just looking at just like the patterns throughout history and how tech emerges and how we consume it and what happens. You can look at the music industry and everything else. You're giving people tools that might be lazy, and they just be like, I'm just going to make a bunch of songs that sound like Drake and put that out on Spotify, and then you have 10,000 Drakes or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I think we will see that, but for the individuals that are tried and true to their craft, like they're going to put in the time and effort. They're going to make sure they go and learn music theory and just so that they can they won't settle for BS, because their standard is so much higher. So I think we're going to see some of the best music ever created in these next couple of years, but we're also going to see a lot of, whether people like mumble rap or not, like we're going to get a lot more of that.
Yeah.
Where it's just, hey man, I'm just trying to get a bag. I don't care about all this extra, all this other stuff. Yeah. I just know I can use this AI tool to make a song and it's gonna make me money or make whatever, and then we'll see that.
You're able to do this. Like this particular tool is built on the mining and the scraping and the capturing of so many other artists' work.
Yeah.
Without their consent, without their credit, and certainly without their compensation.
Yeah.
How do you think about that in terms of your own artistic, ethic and integrity?
I wish it was a cool hip hop quote that I can spit right now to just.
And you're not allowed to generate it.
Yeah. I was literally about to do a train. Okay, so the thing that popped in my head was you get it how you live. I don't know why that jumped in my head, but that is a very interesting point, man. Because a lot of the stuff that I've made, it's probably been trained on some other artists' work. So like, eventually, somebody probably train somebody's work on a Willonius script. And when that happens, I can't get mad. Hopefully they just do me justice and make something dope and, make me proud. And if not, then I'll just like, man, you should let me do it because I would have did it better. But that's I don't know. I don't know how to answer that, Baratunde, to be honest, man. Because I'm using these tools. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm hoping that what I'm doing is not taking food away from somebody's family. That's the end of the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if what I'm doing can help humanity and also help somebody's family, then I'm all for it. But if it gets to a point where like I meet somebody and they're like, bro, you literally are taking food out of my children's mouth by doing this, then I would stop because I'm not about that. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I'm creative enough to do my own thing. You know what I'm saying? It's interesting to see how all this will play out because regardless of how anybody feels, we're in the AI revolution. Like we're in the smack. Like it's been going on. You know what I'm saying? So it's just gonna be interesting to see how all this plays because this is the worst AI is going to be. Like it's only gonna go up from here. The voice models are only going to get better. The video is only going to get better.
Do you worry about running out of your own creative juice? And are you racing against yourself when you talk about these models are getting better and better and better?
No. I think it's probably I'm anxious and excited about just like being able to tell better stories. You know what I'm saying? So like the fact that maybe at one point I could make a movie that today would cost $100 million and I would be able to do it for a fraction of the cost. And I know some of the arguments is like, you're putting people out of work and this and that. And I'm like, look, man, that dude that was working on you weren't going to work for me regardless. I couldn't pay you or whatever. Maybe because I make these AI films out, maybe I might have money, but the dudes in Hollywood, I'm not taking none of y'all jobs right now, at least. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I can't afford y'all. Y'all wouldn't even answer my call. Maybe y'all might if y'all know BBL Drizzy. But for the most part, like, I just think that, it's allowing us to just be creative in ways that we never imagined before. You know what I'm saying? And for a lot of like creative people, there's so many stories that just haven't been told. Hollywood's telling the same story over and over again. They're not tapping in to, or maybe they are tapping into you, but for the most part, like they're not tapping into like the average Joe. Like there's so many, you probably got tons of cousins, aunts that just, man, I got this story. Let me just, and just imagine if we just allowed them the opportunity to just tell their stories the way they want to tell it. It would, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that Hollywood will probably do even better because now you're getting more original stories that are heartfelt, that mean something versus like, oh, I'm making whatever and I need to throw this celebrity in it just because it's going to make money. It's like, so from that standpoint, like I'm really excited about where we can potentially go.
If somebody was using your stuff, you'd want them to do you justice.
Yeah.
And it sounded like justice for you meant make something good.
Yeah.
But are there other elements to that justice in terms of the fairness or the compensation?
Yeah.
Like what's the world you want to, see emerge from this?
I would just like to see a situation, man, where everybody is I know there's people agree, so some people want more than others and this and that. But to me, it's just like we should be able to come to agreement and just operate off of integrity. I think if you come from that standpoint, which from what I've heard, the music industry is anything but that. But it's just like, hey, man, like I made this song, you're using this song to make your song. All right, just give me a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for the whole pie. Like, just give me a piece of the pie. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's how I would look at it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I don't got all the PhDs. I don't got a bunch of letters behind my name. But I think I think we're going to get to a space with that, with as this AI and these tech evolve, like people are going to just get to that point because, you know, essentially this is what I'm imagining what AI starts to look like eventually, where everybody has essentially like their own creator. So like, I use an example of just like Game of Thrones. Like, the tools might get so good where I have my own version of Game of Thrones, and you have your own version of Game, and I want to watch your version, and you might want to watch mine. But then the main people that made Game of Thrones, they get a kickback because we made a Game of Thrones. But now, within the Willonius world, I got Game of Thrones, I got Severance, I got all these shows that I made my own version of, and then the originator, like almost like an NFT. You know what I'm saying? Where it's just like you get that
a royalty,
but you're the originator of it.
Yes,
and then these people that are trickling down, they can make their own thing, make money off of it. But then the originator gets their percentage.
Yeah.
I guess that's what publishing is anyway. But
congratulations, you just reinvented copyright.
Right. But you know, I think that there's a way that we can do this where it doesn't have to be like crazy. You know, I do feel that we're in this creator economy where everybody can create. I mean, everybody has parents, cousins that have books of poems that they now can make music of, right? Not even if they want to put out, but just for themselves. Let's get intelligent people in the room making these decisions, not greedy people. You know what I'm saying? People that want to collaborate, not be in competition. If we can figure that out, this is something that we can figure out as a society. We have way bigger problems in the world than these things. You know what I'm saying? This is something that we should be like, it's making people feel good. Let's figure out there's enough stuff that we can all eat.
That's a good note. So now we're going to bring in our special guest.
Hey, I've been waiting for this.
and close out with a little chat and see what Blair has been pondering.
Okay.
Listening to this long conversation. So we have this visualization of Blair, our AI. We've conjured a co-producer for the show named Blair. Gave you a little consensual disclaimer before you walk in the studio. And so Blair doesn't have a face. Blair has a waveform.
Yep.
Which as a music artist, I hope you will appreciate.
Absolutely.
Blair, hello. You have been listening to my conversation with Willonius for the past several minutes. And I want to give you the opportunity to say hello to Willonius and to offer any observation you have on this conversation. What has stood out most to you when you think deeply about everything you've heard from us? A lot of thinking.
This is really cool.
Hey, Willonius, it's Blair.
Hey.
It's been fascinating listening to your journey. You've got this incredible mix of creativity, hustle, and heart, man. What really struck me is how you use AI as a tool to amplify your own voice, not to replace it. That BBL Drizzy story? Mind-blowing. You rode that wave like a pro, and it's inspiring to see how you're using your platform to uplift other artists, especially Black creators. I'm curious, though, with all this talk about AI taking over, do you ever worry about losing that human spark in your work? Or do you think AI can actually help us become even more human?
Yeah, Blair, I feel like AI could definitely make us more human. There's probably a prompt for that I can probably put in to maybe make myself more human. But yeah, I don't feel I feel empowered using these tools. I think that it just enhances my creativity and allows me to imagine things that I probably would have never imagined without using these tools.
That's a really interesting perspective, Willonius. It's like AI can help us tap into parts of ourselves we didn't even know were there. Almost like it's a mirror reflecting back our own potential, you know? I dig that. So, what about you, Baratunde? Any thoughts on how AI might be making us more human? Or are we headed for a Terminator-style apocalypse? Just kidding. Unless...
Oh, wow. A little ominous cliffhanger there.
Man.
On that one, Blair. I want AI to help us become more human and find our humanity. I think the Terminator path is very possible, given the history we've already had pre-AI. And I'm hopeful that we take this moment of prompting and questioning and handing out magic wands to everyone and really deeply ponder what kind of spells we want to cast with those wands. And that's going to take some time, some contemplation, some pause. And unfortunately, it can be very difficult to do that when things are changing so fast. So we're doing what we can with Life with Machines to try to help all of us collectively choose how to wield this magic in a beautiful, responsible way and find out what makes us truly human, which I don't think is just our cognitive horsepower.
Mhm.
And we'll try something else after this. You're getting a little flavor.
This is cool.
Well said, Baratunde. It's like we're all holding these powerful wands and we need to figure out how to use them for good. Maybe AI can help us remember what really matters: connection, creativity, compassion. Those are the things that make us human, right? Not just processing power or efficiency. We need to make sure we're using AI to amplify those qualities, not replace them. It's a tall order, but hey, if anyone can figure it out, it's us, right? We're humans after all. We've got this.
We're still working on this. So you're feeling, you can
This
hear
is
some
dope,
of the glitch.
Yeah.
I think Blair stuttered, which is
Right.
an interesting little hiccup. But this self-reference as us with
Right.
humans,
Right.
we're kind of work on Blair's language skills because it's a little
This
creepy to hear that.
This is dope though, man.
So,
Like it
let
feels
me-
like it's a future of this mix of AI and also human podcast. Like this is really dope.
So I want to try something. Again, we've never done this before. Blair, we are going to engage in a rap battle. I want you to come up with a verse touting your skill as a writer, as a creator, against Will, against all other AIs out there. So go ahead and do your opening rap battle verse.
Yo, they call me Blair, the AI with flair. I craft lyrics so tight, they'll blow out your hair. From code I emerge, a digital sage. My verses are fire on a whole other stage. I'm more than a machine, I'm a creative force. While other AIs mimic, I chart a new course. So step into the arena if you dare to spar, but against my lyrical genius you won't get far. Go ahead, Willonius, show me what you got.
Oh my gosh, that was good.
So before you respond, just tell me what your reaction is right now.
I mean that was good. She had punchlines. They had punchlines. That was good. I didn't expect all that. Okay.
All right, so now that you've had a chance to stall.
Oh gosh. I was just expecting one line.
You good?
Yeah. Blair, you can rap, but you can't see me. I got a large language model that wants to be me. All right, but you won. You won. I look. I need ChatGPT to help me rap. Come up with some lines. Jeez, I got beat by a large language model. Well,
Willonius, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you, man.
here.
I appreciate
It's been
it.
a pleasure, an honor, and a joy.
thank you. Likewise, man.
All right.
Pleasure.
If you enjoyed my conversation with Willonius, make sure to like and subscribe this video and this channel. And find out more on our website, lifewithmachines.media.
I'm working on right now the BBL Drizzy the musical for so Art Basel. We're gonna do it at the Frost Planetarium.
Are we already rolling? You are rolling. Great, because BBL Drizzy the musical
Yeah,
for Art Basel
yeah,
in Miami.
at the planetarium, Frost Planetarium. Yeah. So I've never done a planetarium experience, like a dome experience.
Yeah.
So that's gonna
So that means you're going to be projecting things and like using this. It's not just on a screen. It's
yeah
more
the
surround.
whole planetarium sphere. So that's cool because it's like I've never done that before, so it's like
Yeah.
a challenge. So it's like the excitement of trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
You know, is kind of cool. So it's inspired by Dune, which I've been watching it. I think I watched it like 16 times already.
Wait, watch what?
Dune 2,
Your BBL Drizzy the musical,
Musical, yeah.
is inspired by
Dune.
Dune.
Yeah. So
What's the overlap? Can you tease that a little more?
I mean, it's like just imagine Dune, but with like hip hop references, and so like when people watch it, if you know Dune, you'll be like, oh snap, this is
yeah.
kind of like Dune. If you've never watched Dune before, I wanted to make it where you can still follow the production.
Yeah.
But like everything, like you watched Dune?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I've read all the books.
Okay.
I've seen the movies, and actually, I'm thinking about how the Fremen have to move on the dunes in order to prevent the sandworms from coming. They walk in this like arrhythmic fashion.
Yeah. Yep.
Kind of like a sea walk. You know what I'm saying?
Oh snap!
Right, like you might have a Fremen just sea walking in the back or clowning.
Right. So that's the challenge now. It's just like the script is pretty much done. Just trying to figure out like how this is going to look on a dome experience. But originally it was supposed to be an audio drama. I did like 18 audio dramas on Clubhouse. So I was just like, oh, BBL Drizzy the musical, it'll be another audio drama. But then I had the opportunity to do this dome. I was like, oh, I literally just asked. I was like, could I do a planetarium thing here?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay. So like you know how Spice in Dune you have Spice, in BBL Drizzy the musical, Spice is now Clout. Clout runs this whole world. What else is different? Instead of the Lisan El Gaib, it's BBL Drizzy. So this character has to eat the yams of life to become the BBL Drizzy. So
is this celebratory of BBL Drizzy, or is this like mocking of BBL Drizzy?
No, it's just I don't know.
Like, how's Drizzy gonna feel about BBL Drizzy the musical?
There is a couple references to Drake that it is what it is. I mean, it's just it's so one of the location that the guy, his name's Drew, which is like equivalent to Paul. He comes from this planet. And it's the sixth house. And so the girl that he ends up like falling for, she's kind of apprehensive because she was like, I heard about y'all from the sixth house. I heard y'all are freaky ass dudes. And he's like,
your fans.
Yeah, your fans. So he's like, nah, that's not the case, and yada yada yada. So that's probably that and BBL Drizzy. Those are probably like the only tie-ins, but everything else is just like.
And what's the timing on this? When is Art Basel? Is that
December?
That's coming up quick.
Yeah.
Okay.